candidate for this evening. He's a local business owner in St. Petersburg, running for U.S. House District number 13. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Frank Kraft.
All right, yep, like you said, I'm Frank Kraft. I'm running for U.S. House 13, which is Pinellas County. Currently, Charlie Christie, he is running for governor. I moved to St. Pete in '93 from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a local businessman. I got a passion for the arts. Started my first business at 18. It was an independent film company. Now I own a flower shop in downtown St. Pete, and I remotely manage an art center in Kansas City. Married, my son, and other family members, but I hate it when people use their family photo ops and political pawns. So the questions I always get are, why are you running and why the Libertarian Party? And that second question always has this implication that you can't be serious about running if you're running a third party. Of course, all of us are here today because we disagree with this. I think the Libertarian Party is best suited for the masses, evidenced by the fact that we're the only group outside of no party affiliation that's actually growing in enrollment. Most people in life feel capable of charting their own course without a burdensome government stepping in. The big problem is they create a straw man neighbor that is too inept to manage their own life. These people think that the government needs to step in to either protect this poor person and tell them how to live their life, or guard all this well-informed people from the irresponsible actions that this person is likely to take. This is obviously not the role of the government. In the name of forming a more perfect union, we elect people from our community that we think best represent us to go to Congress to make sure that our community values are represented in government. Unfortunately, the current reality is over the last 10 years, the House of Representatives in particular, but Congress as a whole, has become more of an oligarchy. Leadership crafts big bills in private with little input. They pass it with no time, or they present it with no time to read, and say that you gotta pass it. They put enough carrots in there from both parties to have something to go back to their base and say, well, at least we got this done. And they put a bunch of potential PR disasters in there to shame you if you say you don't want to vote for it. It's dishonest, and it's not representing the people at all. I think we as libertarians are in a unique position to bridge relationships in the hyper-partisan world of DC politics by staying out of the fray of the take the House, keep the House, and focus on real issues that have bipartisan or tripartisan support. I think one example of this is term limits. When we talk to Democrats or Republicans, there's a huge support for term limits. I think there's an opening in Congress as well for this conversation. I think it's kind of an easy sell to Team Red. And Team Blue, I think there's enough young people in there that don't like that the Speaker has 100% of the power and can be in there for a lifetime if they so choose. The war of Democrats versus Republicans will go on, but there's an opening for a diplomat, need of an advocate that's not directed by party fundraising or the war of optics. I'm an underdog. We're all underdogs when faced these big political machines. But an underdog can be effective by staying out of headline politics, focusing on popular legislation, not populist, and focusing on the job count. One thing that I think needs to be brought back is the amendment process, both presenting and debating with a more open way to present them. When Paul Ryan was the Speaker, he eliminated earmarks as a way to control spending. What it did is it killed one ability of ours to keep leadership in check. It's always frustrating when there'd be a bill, maybe the MJ Act, and somebody would present an amendment to fund ice cream for penguins or school bus races in Buffalo. But occasionally, an amendment would be presented that actually helped the bill. Now, the bill's presented, it's either all good or all bad, and I doubt it's ever really been all good. I think it's important to have freer amendments presented, allow the debate to go down on the floor, hear the sides, watch them fight gloriously, fail, give up, win, lose, or draw. Right now, if somebody presents a bill, say that make police a more federal department or the election process more federal. All we really have is the hope that there's enough no's that exist and not enough procedural steps so it can get shot down. But there's no way for little Joe so-and-so from nowhere, North Dakota to present some amendments to actually fix the bill before it's voted on. There's some other ideas that are a little wild that I'd like to codify within the constraints of the Constitution. I think Congresspeople, the representatives in particular, should be in their home districts as much as possible, be available for their constituents, be more unavailable for lobbyists. That way, do something that your district doesn't like, they're going to come at you with pitchforks. But in today's world, there's no reason, with the technology we have, the post-COVID era, that we shouldn't be able to join sessions remotely. We've got easy access to the security, there would be minimal procedural changes, and at this point, even the elder statesmen aren't afraid of video conferencing. In a perfect world, you might be able to figure a way to use randomized security, cameras, even issue votes, but that's a stickier wicket that has some debate behind it. All in all, the idea is to make DC more of an occasional trip, an occasional vacation, and less of a golden city on the hill full of our betters. Another big topic for mine is budget, and it's not a sexy one. We stopped this kind of formal budgeting process years ago and went out with a whimper. There was a couple of people that kind of objected, but it was mainly radio and TV types. And they did it for a couple hours a day. It's one of the most basic but important jobs. Some of these new people in Congress don't even realize the political hay one can make in the budgeting process, making your dramatic speeches full of red meat to get to your base, where you say this giant program's great, this giant program's bad. You have the ability to call people weak and heartless and socialists and warmongers. And it seems stupid to wish for this to come back, but at least at the end of the day, there was a budget that had been worked out, debated, and largely agreed upon by a majority. And there's also a list of people who voted for and against it that can be held accountable. A big thing, I just want to bring the planning back. This omnibus style of funding the government is just a way to do maximum work with as little input as possible from everybody else. We increase spending on average about 3% year to year for every department, regardless of how much tax revenue comes in. And we just had the president suggest a budget that is twice as much as the tax money that comes in. They always present these omnibus bills with the threat of government shutdown or starving the troops or whatever the hot button thing is that's going to get people to move. But without a budget, you can't plan. Anybody that knows, anybody that's managed credit card debt or chosen which bills to pay, know that you can't sustain a system where you're sending out twice as much as you're bringing in. And this is one of the major reasons I jumped in. Spending's been unsustainable for a while. I mean, at least since George W. Bush, but really for longer than that. Both parties, the Democrats and Republicans, take turns feigning outrage at deficit spending, and then they just wait for the other side to be in control. They just flip-flop on who's outraged. We've done this for so long that we have so much debt that if we increase interest rates, we can't afford to pay the interest on our debt. We just print money, we look to the Fed as if they know what they're doing, even though the dollar's lost something like 90% of its value since they've been in charge of managing inflation. And honestly, I'm worried about things like a depression, hyperinflation, a debt-based war. These are all things that my generation has not had to consider, and I'm thankful that we haven't, but we're getting to that point. Our government's basically in bankruptcy court, taking out payday loans from loan sharks. It's got to stop. We all have friends and family who are Democrats and Republicans, and they all have their special legislation that they want to see passed, whether Green New Deal or whatever the hell else. But what they don't understand is none of these things can actually get done in the current system. With this oligarchy, for one, it probably would never see a vote. The legislation wouldn't get a chance to vote. But also, we can't plan if we don't budget. Not that it's really stopped anybody in government before. I had, so from my time in my arts, or in the arts, I had this, doing beer with a couple of artists, a sheer and top. And so this year was asking me what I thought of NEA grants, art grants, because we're all in the art world. My organization's mission is to support artists and help them grow, so we figured this was kind of a sacred cow issue. I told them our organization takes $0 in local, state, federal funds, no donations. We do it on our own, and we're not the only ones that do this. So, yeah, generally speaking, I'm opposed to NEA grants. If we actually set a budget, get back on track, get out of this deficit, odds are the Congress will never be made all of libertarians or fiscal conservatives. Will be a balance of all parties. So we might not like if fluff gets added, like science and arts grants or whatever the hell else. But at least if we do the work to get us back into the black, at least it won't be the end of the damn country if these things go through. I'm not gonna lie, I might be the type of guy that frustrates you. I go for boring topics like procedure and budgeting. I know what a lot of us like to do is we draw a line and say, let's eliminate Department of Education. All these things that we do want. Where I see my role is that this line is so many miles away that it ain't happening. And so what I want to do is get the processes back in place, so we're at a place where, whether it's our bold moves or even someone else's bold ideas, that has an actual chance to be heard, debated, and voted upon. Right now, if you're in Congress, if you're a congressman, you have to fight to be heard, let alone to get legislation up for a vote. I heard Justin Mosh discuss this with Andrew Keaton on the podcast not too long ago. So we need to change that. I've never been a t-shirt hyperbole guy, nor a snippet response kind of guy. You probably can't expect me to get big emotional reactions to things that are happening in the news, and you can't expect me to be some sort of libertarian icon. What I can be is a diplomat for the libertarian movement and try to drag this country inch by inch back to liberty until there's enough consensus that it starts to flow more naturally. I'm running for Congress to get us on track. I want your support, I need your support, I hope to earn your support, and that's what I'm here to do. Go to frameforcongress.com and help however you see fit. Thank you very much.